everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Coronation Street has revealed a big secret about the Platt House fire, as David Platt confessed as to where he was at the time. In tonight's episodes, Sarah and Todd Grimshaw were looking after the salon when Andy came in asking for Davo. Sarah noticed that Todd seemingly knew the shady character and went to the funeral parlor to find out. Todd said he recognized Andy from Paul Foreman's memorial rave and that Paul had met him in prison when he was doing time for insurance fraud. Best streaming services. He's the kind of guy you'd shake his hand and count the number of your fingers after, Todd warned. Sarah later brought Nick Tilsley along to the cafe, where the duo confronted David over Andy, who also knew David from prison. They asked David outright if he burned down the house for the insurance, but he insisted he didn't. At the hospital, Shauna said she heard about Sarah and Nick's accusations and admitted that while she wants to believe, she couldn't unless he told her exactly where he was when the fire started. Eventually, he relented and told her that he was driving a getaway car at the time in order to pay back gangster Harvey Gaskell. Coronation Street and Emmerdale cuts spark urgent concern over job losses. I was basically just a glorified taxi service. I didn't see any other option at the time. They robbed this electrical warehouse. There was no one there. It was basically a victimless crime. No one's gonna find out, it's fine. Shauna called David out, saying that he doesn't even delete his browser history, so she can't believe he'll do a good job covering his tracks about this. Coronation Street reveals first scenes for Nightmare new character. As they argued, Kit Green and the police turned up to bring David in for questioning based on suspicion of arson. In the interview, David said he was in Denton with Andy at the time, but didn't say specifically why. When Kit returned from calling Andy, he said that Andy has claimed otherwise. David decided he'd had enough and tried to leave to go back to see Max Turner at the hospital, but Kit stopped him and told him that he was being placed under arrest for fraud and attempted arson. After telling Nick and Sarah about the getaway car, Shauna went in to see Max wake up. As he came to, he asked where David was, and the camera cut to him alone in a cell. Will he be able to clear his name? The cobbles of Coronation Street are no stranger to drama, but next week, tensions will reach a boiling point as the truth about David Platt's involvement in a shocking fire is revealed. This high-stakes storyline promises to send shockwaves through Weatherfield and change the dynamics of the Platt family forever. The fire that rocked Weatherfield. It all started on a seemingly quiet evening at Victoria Court. Residents were enjoying a peaceful night until screams pierced the air, followed by the sight of thick black smoke billowing into the sky. Panic ensued as locals rushed to help, and the fire brigade was called to tackle the raging blaze. By the time the flames were extinguished, significant damage had been done, and one resident was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The cause of the fire was initially deemed accidental, but whispers of foul play soon began to circulate. David's erratic behavior raises eyebrows. In the days following the fire, David Platt's behavior became increasingly erratic. He was jumpy, short-tempered, and visibly on edge. Shauna, his wife, grew concerned about his state of mind. "David, what's going on?" Shauna asked one evening as they sat in their living room. "You haven't been yourself since the fire. Is there something you're not telling me?" David avoided her gaze. "I'm fine, Shauna, just stressed with everything that's been going on." But Shauna wasn't convinced, and neither was Gail, who had also noticed her son's unusual demeanor. A shocking confession. Unable to keep the truth bottled up any longer, David finally broke down and confessed to Shauna late one night. "It was me," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Shauna's heart raced. "What do you mean? You were what?" David took a shaky breath. "The fire, it was my fault. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I started it." Shauna was stunned into silence. "David, what are you saying? How could you be responsible for something like that?" David explained that he had gone to Victoria Court that evening to confront a rival over an ongoing dispute. Tempers had flared, and in a moment of rage, David had knocked over a table with a lit candle. The fire had spread quickly, and by the time he realized the gravity of the situation, it was too late. "I panicked," David admitted. "I just ran. I should have stayed and helped, but I was scared." Shauna struggled to process the revelation. "We have to go to the police," she said firmly. "You can't keep this a secret." But David was adamant. "If I go to the police, they'll lock me up. I can't do that to the kids, to you. Please, Shauna, just let me fix this on my own." Family fallout. Despite David's plea, Shauna knew she couldn't carry the burden of his secret alone. She confided in Gail, who was devastated by the news. "My David would never do something like this," Gail said, her voice trembling. "He's not a bad person, Mum," Shauna insisted. "It was an accident, but he needs help. We can't let him self-destruct." Gail nodded resolutely. "We'll stand by him, but we have to find a way to make this right." The police closed in. As the investigation into the fire continued, the police began to piece together evidence that pointed to David's involvement. CCTV footage from a nearby building captured him entering Victoria Court, just moments before the blaze broke out. Detective Sergeant Collins paid a visit to the Platt household. "Mr. Platt, we have some questions about the night of the fire," the detective said. David's heart raced, but he tried to play it cool. "Of course. Anything I can do to help." But inside, he knew his time was running out. Max's discovery. Meanwhile, Max, David's teenage son, made a shocking discovery of his own. While rummaging through his father's belongings, he found a singed jacket that smelled of smoke. "Dad, what's this?" Max demanded, holding up the incriminating evidence. David's face paled. "Max, it's not what you think. You can lie to us, haven't you? You were there when the fire started." Max's voice was filled with betrayal. David's shoulders slumped. "I'm sorry, Max. I never wanted you to find out like this." Max's eyes filled with tears. "How could you do this to us? To Mum?" The breaking point. With the weight of his guilt and the mounting pressure from his family and the police, David reached his breaking point. He decided to turn himself in. "I can't keep living like this," he told Shauna. "It's time I face the consequences." Shauna held his hand tightly. "We'll get through this together, David. You're not alone." As David walked into the police station and confessed to his involvement in the fire, a sense of both dread and relief washed over him. He knew there would be repercussions, but he also knew it was the first step toward redemption. Aftermath and redemption. The residents of Weatherfield were shocked by the news of David's confession. While some were quick to judge, others showed compassion and understanding. "We all make mistakes," Roy Cropper said thoughtfully. "It's how we make amends that defines us." With the support of his family and friends, David began the long journey toward making things right. He attended therapy sessions to address his anger issues and volunteered to help rebuild the damage caused by the fire. Though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. David Platt was determined to rebuild his life and earn back the trust of those he had hurt. A new chapter for the Platts. As the Platt family gathered for a heartful dinner, Gail raised her glass. "To family," she said. "We may be flawed, but we stick together." David smiled, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Shauna squeezed his hand. That's what family is for. Though the scars of the past would take time to heal, the Platts were stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our channel Street Gossip for more update news.